Both talk about being successful in the market is not dependent on what the market's doing, but how you're responding to the market. So why don't you just talk a little bit about, from your each perspectives, what that means in terms of seizing opportunity in any market.
In any market, okay.
KP?
Sure, yeah, talking about seizing the opportunity in any market. Well, I would say the number one driver is motivation, right? You can be highly skilled, organized, have all the product and technology knowledge in the world, but if you're not motivated, it's just, without the mo, there's no go. That's how I was always trained.
Yep.
And even our most highly self-motivated professionals, they just need a little nudge every now and then. Sometimes they hit a rut or they just kind of have a routine, they need to freshen up. And so, I would say as a leader, it's kind of one of your main focuses is to watch certainly the top performers when they need that nudge. And it's not often, and it could be a subtle cue, but you've got to be engaged to see those. And then of course, if we're going to use your standard playbook, your bottom 20 and your middle 60, there's different ways to manage that. But helping motivate people and getting them in the right mindset, it's tough. You talk about our business right now, there's less business out there and rates are rising and all you hear about is talk of recession, but so what? There's still $2 trillion in loans getting done.
That's right.
Maybe 2.5. I don't know where we'll land this year, but yeah, in any market, you have your ups and downs. You just got to make sure people are motivated.
I love it. Yeah. It's interesting because you talk about the industry and the opportunities in it, and all you have to do is look as far as the population numbers for the Gen Y and Gen Z, 168 million people who all want to own a home. They don't want to rent. That right there is the future for the next 25 years for today's originator. And I'm gonna kind of go off your motivation thing because I couldn't agree more with what you just said, KP. And then I would add to that two things: belief, which is kind of part of motivation, but it's believing first off in the market that you can make a difference. It's also believing in what our industry is about, which is home ownership and creating the American dream and helping people who already have home ownership to own it in a way that creates more savings and more stability and more liquidity and more of those things with it. So to me, that's strong. And the other side of that is just actions, your actions. What are people doing, in this marketplace? As if you said it very well a moment ago, you've got to do the right things and have the motivation behind that. And what I see a lot is people just don't do the right things. We use the wrong approaches with our customers, and instead of focusing on them and how we can help them, we're trying to think from the vantage point of how do we sell a deal to build a profit. It's never about that. It's always about focus on the customer first, believe you can make a difference in their life, do the actions that will lead to helping them, and they're going to buy from you every time. You create that customer for life mentality when you do that because they sense that you're putting it about them first.
I love that you hit on so many different topics there. You talk about liquidity and you're talking about the money aspect of it. I kind of range the motivation range from we buy and sell money to transactional all the way to the American dream. And obviously you and I, we lean hard into the American dream.
Yeah, we do.
We love it.
That's right.
I love helping people get a house.
That's why we're so excited all the time.
It is. It's so much fun. I just cruised in here from another show in Nashville, and the keynote speaker this morning was saying that only 1 in 5 borrowers do their next loan with the last loan officer that helped them. 1 in 5.
That's crazy.
That's pathetic, right?
That's pathetic, yeah.
And my Lyft driver was asking me, is it going to be a crash? Should I wait? And I said, well, are you renting? Are you spending money on rent? Because you're not waiting.
Yep.
You're spending every day, and you're making a landlord rich.
Yep.
And so, there's all these different talking points that are out there that motivate, whether it's consumers or our sales professionals or our colleagues, and you just got to read the tea leaves. And I'm telling you, I've never been more bullish on housing than I am now. It's just, even in a down cycle, you can pick up some good transactions, some good bargains, some good deals. There's not going to be a crash like it was in 08. The guy literally asked me that. Is there going to be a crash like 08? I go, there's no credit bubble,
Right.
But when things slow down, it's different it's different than a crash. A slowdown is different than a crash, and our salespeople need to realize that as well. A slowdown means, it's not as busy as it used to be, or you're not helping as many people, or you're not making as much money, whatever that motivation is, but it's still good, and it's still good, and we're still very blessed to be in this business.
Well, and the key to all of that is just staying after your customers, staying entrenched in those customers. That customer for life that we talked about a moment ago that you and I built our careers around. I mean, we used to do it with a Rolodex. Now today we have ICE. We have automation that does all these things for the sales teams that there's no reason not to stay in contact with your customers. No reason for that statistic of only 20% of customers go back to their loan office. Mind-blowing. And today you have the opportunity to not only stay in touch with them, but artificial intelligence helps you understand what their buying habits are going to be, what they're looking for. This is where technology becomes so important to help you identify those sweet spot marketplace opportunities that create that. And look, you said it perfectly, KP. Our product's money. We're not in the mortgage business, we're in the money business. Everybody loves that. So as long as we can remember that, wake up in the morning and go, today we have a chance to put somebody in a home, which makes the American economy what it is. We have a chance to help people create stability. That's what the game's about. And it's about helping families to live as strong families. You look at those things, it makes a difference. I was thinking about when you were talking a couple years ago, I'll never forget this. I was at an office for a guy who was in the business for like 42 years. And he was still just so pumped up. And I'm like, okay, I think I'm a motivational guy. What is going on with you? Why are you so excited? You know what he did? He said, I got to show you. He walks me in this closing room. He's got 700 photos on the wall of people with their new house keys. Every loan he ever closed, he had put on that wall.
That's amazing.
He said, that's my motivation right there.
That's cool.
There's your motivation.
I've
There's
never
the belief.
heard anybody doing that.
Yeah, so cool.
Well, I don't know if our audience knows that you're going on your third year with our sales professional team for our wholesale and correspondent channel, and we like to say you're the PRMG sales guru. Our guide, our coach, our mentor, and I think one thing that's important is you talk about AI, you talk about the tools, and they're there to save us time, right? They're not there to eliminate the human aspect of this business, the relationship aspect. Because behind every transaction, whether it's a realtor or an originator or the consumer, there's a human. And the technology helps us cut through some of the mundane tasks and gives us more time back to be more human.
That's right.
And I always joke, I go, I wish everyone had the same technology, because then it would just be your people versus our people, or your people serving your type of people. And you guys would win, that's right. Yeah, I mean, we don't have as many as some of our larger competitors, but there's enough business to go around. There's I'm a big abundance mindset guy, and
me too.
And I feel like it never ends. I mean, there's always someone you can serve, there's someone you can help, and I love the fact that when you come in and you speak to our sales professionals, you don't lose sight of the fact that it's a relationship business.
Yeah. And that's what I love about your company is you guys have the old school mindset of relationship with the new school mindset of technology through ICE and through your partners. That just creates that perfect meld of two things that come together that create success in the marketplace. It's not rocket science. I think sometimes we make it harder than it is.
I know we do. It's but sometimes that's where the motivation gets in, comes into play. Sometimes we get in our own way.
Yeah.
And everyone goes through it. Everyone has. You don't know what challenges, people are facing that's not even related to, buying a home or their career. I mean, people go through challenges, and gosh, the whole country just went through 2 years of craziness. I wish we could, say we're out of, the pandemic, and we're not, you're not fully out of it. Obviously, it's not as bad as it used to be, but just sucker punched our whole country, and housing was a shining star. Yep. Every single partner, vendor, every one of our colleagues were part of the housing industry that just pulled our economy right back up and just kept marching forward. And gosh, what a great time to be a homeowner. 20% appreciation year over year for a couple years in a row. I mean, obviously that's not going to last forever, but people who have taken that chance and took seriously the privilege of home ownership, they're in a great spot right now.
Yeah, it's paying big dividends.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good.
Excited about this conference, Atlanta.
Wish I could be here to hear you speak. I can't wait to hear what you got to say. So
we'll send you the recording.
I love it. I look forward to it. So KP, what do you think? Second half of this year, what are you envisioning? What are you thinking?
So my most positive spin, right? Since we're talking about mindset.
That's right.
You know, it's a cyclical business. We're in a down part of the cycle. Again, it's very good. The real challenges that come from the down part of the cycle is it's usually the capacity of the industry, right? So, you know, we're such a cyclical business. You know, you build up for 4.6 trillion, which has never happened before, and you know, then you got to come back down to reality and go, okay, there might only be 2.5 trillion, which again is a fantastic number. I mean, it's like the 7th best year ever, right? Maybe it's less than that. I don't know. So it's a deleveraging. You know, it's just a part of the cycle that people have to get used to. Okay, it's not as busy, it's not as crazy, you know, and it's all aspects. I mean, you got secondary market personnel who are like, wow, margin compression, like there's no money in the mortgage-backed securities. And then, of course, you've got, you know, originators who are like, I was doing, you know, 20, 30, 40 loans a month. Now I'm doing, you know, 10, 15. And, but it's okay. You know, what we're telling people is that you know, there's two really important points, is that yes, there will be another part of the cycle where there'll be a recession, and rates will come back down again. But I think there's this big belief in the business that the rates will actually be lower all time again, and there's no guarantee for that. There's no guarantee that every loan that was just refinanced at record low rates with record, you know, liquidity infusion from the Fed, we're going to see those rates again, and those loans will become available for refinance. We might only see rates in the 4% range. So the purchases we do today, those become the loans that are refinances in the next part of the refi cycle. And so the motivation for us is to grind and help people get purchase business going, create deal flow. And from an originator standpoint, I would say a realtor as well, you know, trying to get out in front of the client online, maybe use a little bit more consumer direct-esque type activities. Nothing can beat a local originator. Nothing can beat a local realtor. They have this knowledge that is built with years of experience, you know, this feeling and knowing where the good schools are and where to get someone to fix this part of your house or this or that. And that local knowledge coupled together with finding business online, getting consumers first, and then putting them in a house, you're building your future refinance pipeline. Because by the way, when rates do come down again, let's just say they come down to only 4%. Now you're refinancing everyone you're doing right now in the 5s, gosh, maybe even 6s, depending on how high rates get to. But then there'll be more purchases, right? Because rates will be, you know, even cheaper in that next part of the cycle. So we're telling people to build for the next up part of the cycle in the refinance, and that's the motivation right now. Even though, it's a little, there's some deleveraging. I think between now and February of 23 will be the most turbulent waters. But I think once the spring purchase season kicks off again, usually around mid-February is when things start to really pick up. And we'll see, most of this industry will have deleveraged. A lot of the larger clients that were refi heavy, they will had to have gotten rid of their, their excess capacity, and there'll be some equilibrium, and then we'll be able to just, have less turbulent times.
After this is, I think, my 7th rising rate market in 40 years, and you always see the same thing, and the thing that's encouraging to me going into the second half of this year is that in the first half of the year, everybody's learning the change in the market, and now everybody knows it's for real. It's I think a lot of people sat back with their holding their breath for 90 days going, well, it's going to go back to what it was. Rates are going to go back down to mid-2s, low 3s. And now people are like, nope, we're here to stay. And what you have is you have that attrition you talked about, that cleansing, where you do go through a period of time where you tighten the industry, but once you do that, the people who are left are the ones that really know how to work with their customers and do the right things. And that always becomes a great market for those lenders and for those loan officers and those people at that time. They do really well because now they've learned the mistakes from the first half of the year. They've learned what they need to change. We had a pretty interesting switch that I've never seen in 40 years. We went from the lowest rates in all of U.S. history to a 300 basis point increase in less than 5 months, unheard of.
Insane.
And so that adjustment, now we're going to be on the backside of that, and people will know that. And I go back to those population numbers again. Demand has never been greater for homes. Never. there's never been more people wanting to buy homes. That's gonna carry us through this as we start to see rates start to level off and ultimately come back down. And exactly what you said is going to happen again, because it always does. It's a cyclical business. We'll be back in a refi boom again, and here we go. People will be entering the market back in, and we're having parties all over the place once again, and celebrating the successes that.
Yeah, who doesn't like to
companies are
party?
having.